What is Buddhism? Some people say it's a religion. Some people say it's a kind of philosophy. When it comes to something over 2,500 years old, it is very difficult to define it within just a few words. I hope I can provide you with some high-level understanding of Buddhism in the next few minutes. Let's begin with the key elements of Buddhism, which is also known as the Three Jewels, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. The Buddha is the enlightened human being who has founded Buddhism 2,500 years ago. The Dhamma is the Buddha's teaching, and the Sangha is the community of Buddhists who have passed on the Dhamma generation after generation. The Three Jewels are equally important and universally recognized by all schools and branches of Buddhism. Who is the Buddha? Buddha means the awakened one or enlightened one. The Buddha who has founded Buddhism in our universe, his name is Siddhartha Gautama. Born as a prince of a small kingdom in the foot of the mountain Himalaya, the young prince Siddhartha lived the most luxury life one can imagine at that time. Prince Siddhartha was very sensitive and full of compassion. He was depressed just seeing a bird eat a worm. His father, the king, has no choice but to keep him in the palace, keep him away from the real world. When he grew older, he finally left the palace. Outside the city, he saw an old man walking with a stick. And then he saw a sick man suffering from the pain. And then he saw a dead man. These shocks made him realize, as human beings, no one can escape from aging, sickness, and death. And finally, he saw a spiritual practitioner who was on his way searching for an answer to life. This made him decide to leave everything behind: the kingdom, his wealth, and family. He left the best life possible in search to an answer for life. The journey was very hard, but after many years of rigorous learning and practicing, the young prince Siddhartha finally found the answer to life, the Dhamma. So what is the Dhamma? The Dhamma is a collection of Buddhist theories about ourselves and the universe. According to various schools of Buddhism, the Buddha has taught many different versions of the Dhamma. Some schools claim their version is better than the others, but all of them agree that the Buddha started with the Four Noble Truths, which is at the center of Buddhism. The Four Noble Truths state that, firstly, life is full of suffering. Suffering is inevitable, and it's just a matter of time when you realize that you are suffering. Secondly, there are many reasons for our suffering. In most cases, our suffering is caused by the three poisons inside us: greed and delusion. Greed is an uncontrolled obsession towards the things that we like, is an irrational hatred towards other beings, and the delusion is a distorted view of the real world. A Buddhist understands the three poisons. Through the practice of the Noble Eightfold Paths, they can eventually achieve nirvana, which is a state of total enlightenment, just like their teacher, the Buddha. All schools of authentic Buddhism start with the Four Noble Truths and develop their own theories and practice to help Buddhists to eventually achieve nirvana. And finally, let's talk about the Sangha. According to historians, the Buddha was in our world for 84 years. He achieved full enlightenment at the age of 35 and spent the next 49 years passing on the Dhamma. According to all the sutras, the Buddha had 2,500 disciples in his lifetime. In the following 2,500 years, the Sangha grew from 2,500 disciples to over 500 million followers all over the world. With this many practitioners and followers, the Buddhism divided into many different schools that speak different language. Briefly speaking, there are three primary schools of Buddhism today: the Theravada Buddhism, which is based in Southeast Asia; the Mahayana Buddhism, which was developed in ancient India, prospered in ancient China, and passed on to Japan and Korea from there. The Vajrayana Buddhism, which is also known as the Tibetan Buddhism, is also a very popular school. But this is a really high-level classification for Buddhism. For example, in ancient China alone, there was 8 schools of Mahayana Buddhism, and only 2 of them are still prosper today, which are the Zen Buddhism and Pure Land Buddhism. Now we know the 3 jewels of Buddhism, let's briefly talk about the Buddhist literature. While there is not a book called the Buddhist Bible, there are numerous pieces of text about Buddhism, and they are called the Tripitaka, which means 3 baskets. In the first basket, there's the Sutra, which is the disciples' recording of Buddha's original words. In the second basket, there's Vinaya, which are the rules for the Sangha. In the third basket, there are Abhidhamma, which are interpretations of sutras by many generations of Buddhist practitioners. According to my own study plan, it will take about 40 years to study all of the Buddhist literature in all major schools of Buddhism on a part-time basis. And the way I study Buddhism is I read the traditional ancient Chinese sutra together with the English version. The English version actually helped me to better understand the Chinese version, which was written in ancient Chinese. Also, by doing that, I get to see the difference between different versions, and I can focus on the most essential part and eliminate any bias from translation. This is how I study, but why is Buddhism still very important and relevant today? Go back to the Buddha's time, 2,500 years ago. It's a common sense that human beings are not created equal. Some people are more important because they were created by the head of the god. But Buddha said no. Buddha said everyone is equal. And it's unfortunate, in 21st century, still a lot of people don't get that. And looking at what's happening in the US and all over the world reminded me how important it is to have the notion that all lives are created equal. And that is why Buddha was so wise, and I'm determined to learn from Buddha for the rest of my life.